So in the previous classes, we have seen some two decomposition techniques, right? One is data decomposition and recursive decomposition. So in today's class, we will see another decomposition technique, that is exploratory decomposition. Whether PPT is visible, ma?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So in data decomposition also we have seen various methods. Okay, partitioning, output partitioning, intermediate partitioning, and input plus output partitioning. So those techniques we have seen in the earlier classes. So another two decomposition techniques we will see today. That is one is exploratory decomposition. So it is useful for the problem whenever there is a search space. So there is a search space and we need to find the solution. In such kind of decomposition, such kind of problems we will use exploratory decomposition technique. So one example we can take for this decomposition is 15 puzzle problem. So here in 15 puzzle problem, it will be containing of 15 tiles, each number from 1 to 15, and one blank tile will be there, and all will be placed in 4 by 4 grid. And based on the grid configuration, we have to move either up, down, left, and right. And this problem we can use tree search techniques, and we can solve using this also. Okay. So this is the 15 queen problem, 15 puzzle problem. So here we have 7 here. Okay, and this is the blank tile, and this is the 4 grid, and there is a 15 blocks. Okay, there is a blank block here, and the possible move. Okay, if there is a blank here, so 7 we can move upside, okay, or 8 we can move left side, or 6 we can move right side, or 3 we can move downside. Okay, once for if we think that 7 has been moved upside, then what happens here, a blank tile will be created. So now the possible moves will be 10 we can move, 11 we can move this side, or 15 we can move. Okay. So let us assume that 11 we have moved to left side. So now what happens here, a blank space is created, and the possible moves are 8 we can move downside, or 12 we can move upside, or 11 also we can move right. Now what happens? Let us assume 12 has been moved up. So what happens? It is the correct position of all the 15 tiles. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is in the proper position. Okay. So this is the initial state, and this is the final state. Here these are the 3 moves that will transform the initial state to the desired. So here it is the ideal case. We can see that moves are in a proper. Okay, but we don't know 7 will be moved upside only. Either 3 can be moved downside. So then it will become little bit complex. So for that purpose, how we will do this? We have to explore all the subspace, okay, by generating various successive states of the current state and to view them as independent tasks. So for this particular position of the tiles, what we will do, we will generate what are the 4 possible states. Okay. So 15 we can move upside, 10 we can move left side, so 7 we can move downside, and 10 we can move right side, and 11 we can move left side. So these are the 4 possible moves. And here onwards, we will consider this one as a task, and we will try to identify what is the proper state, final state, whether we are able to achieve. So then also the possible moves can be, okay, because here there is a blank tile. Either we can move 15 down, okay, and 14 we can move right, and 12 we can move left. So from this state, we have 3 possible final states. And from this state, we have some 4 possible final steps. So that is, here there is a blank space. So we can either move 7 up, 3 down, 6 to right, and 8 to left. Okay, so these are the 4 final steps. And given this is the intermediate state, considering this task 3, so here there is a blank space. We can move either 9 here, 14 here, 6 down, and left and to left. So these are the final steps for it. And for task 4, we can see here there is a blank space, and these are the 3 possible final steps that we can achieve. Here, this is the only final solution that is required. So for that purpose, we need to explore reasonably all the successes. Okay? And here we are able to achieve the final step. In exploratory decomposition, unfinished tasks could be terminated when the overall solution is achieved. So if there is a, okay, let us assume here in task 4 we have already achieved the solution, but still task 3 is running. Okay, but we have already got the solution, so because of that we can terminate all the other things. And the work that is done by the parallel process could be either smaller or greater than performed in a serial fashion. And the speed up of the parallel algorithm is based on which partition task results in achieving a final. So if we take 2 scenarios here, so we have a task and it has been decomposed into some 4 tasks like this, and we have some 4 tasks here, and here there is the for the same task, so another solution can be, so some 4 tasks, and here if the dot is shown in the triangle front side, that means we have achieved in the beginning. Okay, beginning in the start of the work itself, we have got the solution. But if we are getting in the triangle left side, right side is in the sense, that means at the end of, okay, at the end of the work, we are getting the solution. So like this kind of scenario, the serial work and parallel work can be completed like this. So because in parallel, what happens, all these 4 decomposed tasks will be running in parallel. So here it is achieved in the starting itself. So that's why we will consider it as 1, because all the 4 tasks will be running in parallel. So the total parallel work will be 1. But coming to the serial work, we need to complete this task and this one, and then only we will achieve this. So it will be m plus 1. So the total serial work here it will be 2m. But if we see this kind of scenarios, okay, the total serial work will be completed, will be taken as m itself, because at the end of this particular task, we are getting the solution. So total serial work is m. But if you see the total parallel work here, it will be 4m, because all the work will be done in parallel. So by the end of completion of this work, so this also might have been completed. So we will consider the total parallel work as 4. So if we take such space which has been partitioned into 4 concurrent tasks, if the solution lies right at the beginning of the search space corresponding to task 3, then it will be found almost immediately by the parallel formulation. So if we see this decomposition, okay, the search space here, we are getting the solution in the beginning itself. So if it is found almost, it will be found almost immediately by the parallel formulation. But the serial algorithm will find the solution only after performing the work equivalent to searching the entire space corresponding to tasks 1 and 2. On the other hand, if the solution lies towards the end of the search space corresponding to task 1, then the parallel formulation will perform almost 4 times the work of the serial algorithm and will yield nothing. Okay, so that's what we can get it from this to the decomposition. So given the decomposition of the task graph like this, we can identify what is the serial work or parallel work. So if we take this is the case, okay. So what will be the serial work? So in serial work, we have to complete this one and we have to complete this one. So then only we are getting the solution. So the serial work will be 2. Then coming to the parallel work, what will be the parallel work? Because all the 4 tasks are running in parallel, so it has to complete this one, this one, this one, this one. Okay, all will be running in parallel. And in the end of this work, we are getting the solution. So by this time, this might have also have been completed. So we will consider it as OM. Okay. So if we take this scenario, so the serial work will be because we have to complete only this work, and in the beginning itself we are getting the solution here. So it will be M plus 1. Okay. Then coming to the parallel work, so all tasks are running in parallel. Okay. And here we are getting in the solution in the beginning itself. So the parallel work will be 1. So like this we can get the serial work and parallel. Now someone tell me, so what will be the serial work for this and what will be the serial work or parallel work for this decomposition and serial work and parallel work for. So what will be the serial work for this? So you please identify, okay, so you have computed what is the serial work, parallel work for this and serial work and parallel work. Okay. So that's what about exploratory decomposition. Then coming to the speculative decomposition. So in some applications, there will be dependencies between the tasks which are known a priori. So it is impossible to identify the independent task for such kind of application. So in order to solve that kind of application, we will follow 2 approaches. One is conservative approach and another one is optimistic approach. So conservative approach, it will identify the independent tasks only when they are guaranteed to not have dependencies. And the optimistic approach, so it will schedule the task even when there is a potentially erroneous error. When the tasks are erroneous also, then also it will schedule the task. So these are the 2 approaches we will follow when there is no independent task. So conservative approaches, it will give us little concurrency, and but for optimistic approaches, we need to have the rollback mechanism in the case of error. If there is an error, we have to trace back and we need to identify where the error has been. We will have to solve it and then so it is a method for representing the program taking many possible computationally significant branches based on the output of its receiving. So if there is the output of task 1 required for computation of task 2, so rest of the tasks they can begin the computation concurrently. So the runtime of parallel computation will be smaller than the serial runtime based on the time that is required for evaluating the computation as the next stage task state is dependent. And parallel computation can be done with the concept of switching, which is leading for unnecessary intermediate computation. And we have different formulations for this speculative method. So if we take the events, okay, where we have time order and we have to process those events, and if it is required, then the resulting events are again inserted back into the event set. So if we are considering our discrete event system, so we have to wake up, get ready, drive to work, and all those things. So all these events They can be processed independently also, but if we are driving towards some unnecessary things happen, so then definitely it also affects. So therefore, optimistic scheduling of other events have to be wrote well. So we have a certain sequence, but we don't know when that sequence will be sent. So in such cases, we have to go for optimistic scheduling. So this speculative decomposition will be helpful for such kind of discrete event simulations. So if we consider the simulation system as a network, so here the network nodes, they will indicate the components, each has buffer of jobs with initial one in either state. And from the input queue, jobs will be picked up for execution within a finite time, and they will put it in an input buffer of connected components by the outgoing edge. So we need to maintain a buffer here. And component has to wait till the input buffer of any of its neighbor is full and the number of job types is finite. And the role of input job, it is to process the output component of a finite time. And the network functioning needs to be done based on the given sequence of job, input job, and we have to compute the total completion. Here you can see this is the input job, and this is how we can represent all the jobs with the network. So that's what about a speculative decomposition, which will be helpful for discrete event simulation. And then coming to the hybrid decomposition, it is mixture of other decomposition. So if there is a computation with the structures in multiple stages, so we can apply various decomposition methods in various steps. Even for simple problems like finding a minimum of a list of numbers, we can have a mix of data and recursive decomposition works. So this is the data decomposition for finding the minimum of given numbers. So first we can decompose the data like this, and then we can apply the recursive decomposition. So in this way, we can find the minimum of list of numbers. Okay. So that's what about the decomposition. The recursive, data, exploratory, and speculative decomposition. And hybrid, it is common as now any other decomposition. So now coming to the characteristics of tasks and interactions. So we are discussing that there is task, okay, and we will have some interactions between those tasks, so that will be happening, right? So what are the characteristics that we will see? So the tasks, they can either generated in a static manner or dynamic manner. So if it is a static task generation, so the task needs to be known before execution. For example, we can take as matrix multiplication and finding minimum of given number. And if it is a dynamic task generation, we don't know the actual task and the dependencies. Okay. The example is the picture. So exploratory decomposition, it can formulate the task either in a static manner or dynamic manner. So for example is a 15% problem, because there also we don't know in prior. And task size, this is also one of the characteristics. It is the relative time required for completing the task. And the task needs to be uniform if all requires roughly the same time to complete. Example is the matrix multiplication here. And the task can be non-uniform if the task time varies significantly. Example, consider the picture. And we need to have knowledge of task. This is also one of the characteristics. So knowledge of the task size, it will indicate the choice of mapping scheme based on the knowledge of the task size. So if the task size is known, then we can utilize it for mapping the task to problem. And another important criteria is the size of the data that is associated with the task, okay, for mapping the associated data with the task. Okay. So the size and location of the data will be decided based on the data movement. So what are the overheads that we have to And then coming to the characteristics of inter-task interactions, we can have static versus dynamic. So here we can classify based on the interaction pattern, and programming can be done using message passing paradigm. And dynamic interactions are very harder to program. And the characteristic, okay, another characteristics is it can be either regular or irregular. So classification here, it is based on the spatial structure. So the pattern can be regular if it is needing some structure to be exploited for the efficient implementation. And pattern will be irregular if there is no regular pattern exists. And then another classification is read only and read write. If it is a read only interaction, the task will require read access for the data to be shared among the concurrent tasks. For example, we can take as matrix multiplication. The task needs to read the shared input matrices both A and B. And coming to the read and write interactions, multiple tasks will be waiting to read and write on the same shared input. Another characteristic is one-way or two-way. So the two-way interaction, it will involve both the producer and consumer tasks, and the communication will be in a two-way. If only a pair of communicating tasks is initiating and completing the interaction without disturbing the other one, then it is called a one. So examples, we can consider it as image directory. Okay, in image directory, what we will do is the color of each pixel in the image will be determined by the weighted average of the original value and the value of a neighboring pixel. So one pixel we can identify by weighted average of the original value and the neighboring pixel. And we can easily decompose this computation by breaking the image into square regions and using a different task to decipher each one of these regions. Note that each task needs to access the pixel values of the region assigned to it and values of the image surrounding its region also. So both it has to consider the pixel values in that region and the surrounding pixel values also. Thus, we can regard the task as the nodes of the graph with an edge linking a pair of interacting tasks. So the resulting pattern will be 2D mesh. Okay, so these are all the tasks because we need to have the original pixel values, that is the region that have been assigned, and the surrounding regions also it has to consider. So this is the example for example. So this is the image directory and the resulting will be a 2D mesh like this. And then coming to the parallel algorithm models, we have some 4 models here. One is data parallel model, task graph model, work pool model, and pipelining or producer consumer model. Coming to the data parallel model, so we have already discussed the task can be either mapped static manner or task can be generated either static or dynamic. And the task, they can be mapped either in static manner or semi-static into process. And each task will perform similar operations on different data. And the result of identical operations will be applied and concurrently various data items, which is represented as data parallel. And the data that is operated in various phases will be different. And we can implement it in either in shared model or message passing model. And interaction overheads in this data parallel model will be reduced if we are having a locality preserving decomposition through overlapping of both computation and interaction. Okay. If we are preserving the locality, then the overheads can be reduced. Then coming to the task graph model, the interdependencies and relationships between various tasks are utilized for promoting locality or for reducing the interaction cost. And this model is appropriate if the amount of data associated with the task is large when compared with the amount of related computations. In general, the task mapping is done statically for optimizing the cost of data movement. And in few scenarios, if you see decentralized dynamic mapping also done. And this type of parallelism is expressed by independent tasks in a task dependency graph. It is represented as a task level parallelism. If you see, here it is represented as data parallelism, and here in task graph model, it is represented as a task level parallelism by using the task dependency graph. Then coming to the work pool model, and it is characterized by the dynamic mapping of tasks into processes for load balancing. Here there is no desired pre-mapping, and the mapping could follow either centralized or decentralized fashion, and the task pointers are stored in list, priority queues, hash tables, trees, or any physically distributed data structure we can use. And the processes may generate work and add it to the global work pool. And example for this, we can take the parallelization of loop through chunk scheduling. And coming to the next model, it is master slave model. So one, one or more process generate work and allocate it to the worker process. So if the size of task could be estimated priori, so tasks could be allocated or random mapping also can be done for balancing the load. And at a different time, the workers will be assigned with the smaller pieces of work. And the synchronization, it will be done by the manager. And this also can be seen as the hierarchical or multi-level manager model, where the top level is responsible for providing the input chunks to the second level, where it is further subdivided. Then coming to the producer-consumer model, here we have a stream of data which is passed through various processes with the task assigned to each of it. Okay. The concurrent execution of different programs on a data stream is called the stream parallelism. And the load balancing, it is a function of task granularity. So if the granularity is large, so time will be high for filling the pipeline. If the granularity is small, so the interaction overheads will be increasing because the interaction will be more. So that's what about the 4 parallel program models, so parallel algorithm models and the decompositions. So in the next class, we will see, okay, how the mapping, okay. So that and all we will see in the next class. And actually, I told Saturday I will reschedule the class. If it is possible, can I schedule today 6 to 7? No? You are okay with it? Can I reschedule the class today 6 to 7? Mala, if you answer your attendance, ma. Neelkant.
Yes, ma'am.
Jignesh. Ayush. Ishwar Reddy.
Present, ma'am.
Abdullah Farhan. Bhavraj. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Nivas.
Present, ma'am.
Parth.
Present, ma'am.
Nidhesh. Anirudh.
Present, ma'am.
Sairam,
Present, ma'am.
Gokul,
Yes, ma'am.
Saurabh,
Present, ma'am.
Somesh,
Yes, ma'am.
Sai Nitin,
Present, ma'am.
Satyasri Narayanan,
Present, ma'am.
Sai Raghavendra,
Present, ma'am.
Harika Sai,
Present, ma'am.
Vaibhav Prakash,
Present, ma'am.
Sanjit,
Present, ma'am.
Ninand,
Present, ma'am.
Abhishek,
Present, ma'am.
Jitendra,
Present, ma'am.
Uday Surya,
Present, ma'am.
Subiksha,
Present, ma'am.
Dakshina,
Present, ma'am.
Present,
Patel,
ma'am.
Manav,
Present, ma'am.
Saravanan,
Present, ma'am.
Srivardhan, Rahul,
Present, ma'am.
Sri Venkat,
Ma'am.
Sahil,
Present, ma'am.
Sangramjit,
Present, ma'am.
Vaibhav,
Present, ma'am.
Sai Pritam,
Present, ma'am.
Ankan Roy,
Yes, ma'am.
Karthik,
Present, ma'am.
Meghna,
Present, ma'am.
Ishan Chawla,
Present, ma'am.
Balaji,
Present, ma'am.
Mohit,
Present, ma'am.
Shyam,
Present, ma'am.
Anakha Sriram,
Present, ma'am.
Praneet,
Present, ma'am.
Avinash,
Present, ma'am.
Akash,
Present, ma'am.
Semita,
Present, ma'am.
Meghna,
Present, ma'am.
Harish,
Present, ma'am.
Anupama,
Present, ma'am.
Balaji,
Present, ma'am.
Maharshi, Harish Kumar,
Present, ma'am.
Jayant, Deepak,
Present, ma'am. Present, ma'am.
Sai Varun,
Present, ma'am.
Monisha,
Present, ma'am.
Ashwani Prasad,
Present, ma'am.
see the absentees, Jignesh Chaudhary, Ayush Dhanotia, Abdullah Farhan, Bhavraj Prithvipal Singh, Nidhish, then Srivardhan Reddy,
Ma'am, I'm present.
Present, ma'am.
Actually, I was speaking, but the voice wasn't like audible to you, I guess.
Srivardhan,
Ma'am,
right?
Nidish Kukreja, 19 BC 1023. Thank you.
Then Maharshi Roy, Jayant. So these are the absentees. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. So 6 members are absent. Now tell me, ma, shall I take 6 to 7 class today? Some half an hour?